But there were three that we liked. Free as a Bird, Real Love. And so those were the two that we did. And there was another one that we started working on, but George went off it. Fucking hell. Fucking rubbish, this is. It was like, no, George, this is John. It's still fucking rubbish, you know. Oh, okay, then. So that one's still lingering around somewhere. I'm going to nick in with Jeff and do it, finish it one of these days.
Okay, everybody, we're back for a very, very, very special episode. Welcome back to Two Legs. This is episode number 227. We are mainly a Paul McCartney solo podcast featuring the solo career of Paul McCartney. A little different this time, given what's been going on in the world of Beatles, and exciting times. Is it November 1995 or November 2023? I don't know. Kind of the same feeling with both. But joining me today is my co-host and co-founder of Two Legs and also a co-host of Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles videocast, and that's Tom Hunyadi. Good evening, Tom, and how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Life is good right now. This is the moments that we look forward to and cherish. So I'm really excited about talking about tonight's topic, and
a great guest.
Great guest. I'm in my new
location. Your new location. You got to Michigan safe, and that's all.
Yes.
And we're happy about that. And
yes.
joining us again back on Two Legs, he hasn't been on here in probably well over a year, maybe even longer, is Mr. Mitch Axelrod, a co-host of the podcast Fab Four Free for All. Hello, Mitch.
How you doing, guys?
All right. And
Very happy today.
When was the last time you were on here? Was that for Tug of War at 40?
I don't remember.
Yes, I think that was it.
Maybe it was for me at 40. I don't even know. Now I'm 61, so that might have been 21 years ago. Yeah.
What is it? Wow.
It might have been. And we're really honored to have Mitch on here, and we'll get to it a little bit why, but Mitch really had really some really, really great inside scoop with Now and Then, and we'll get to all that a little bit. Obviously, we're recording this on the 2nd of November. The song has dropped digitally today. It will come out in physical format tomorrow on November 3rd. By the time this drops on Saturday, it'll all be out there in physical formats with the red and the blues coming out a week later.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So, but maybe hopefully I'm thinking I'll get mine by then because, as I told you, my single shipped yesterday on the 1st, and then my cassette shipped today on the 2nd. So I'm hoping maybe I'll have the single, but maybe by Monday. By Monday.
I would think cool. By Monday you would. Before we get into the show topic and obviously the song in question of Now and Then, a couple of McCartney news item notes of late. I did notice that during the week, the High in the Clouds project has been reignited.
Yes.
And that's back on again, right, Tom?
Yep. Yeah. Netflix. Apparently, there's a superstar team involved to get this thing off the ground. Finally, and I think I think it was 6 new songs will be presented for this animated movie or film. So it'd be interesting to see if it's that Lady Gaga duet that he did during the Egypt Station sessions. So these songs have been done for like years. We're just working on this damn animated.
I feel like that project has been going on forever and ever, and finally there was some news on it.
Yeah.
So we have, and then also we haven't actually talked a whole lot about it, but we will get to it proper. The latest episode of the McCartney podcast, Life and Lyrics, with Paul Muldoon. The latest episode on that dropped the other day, and we got an episode on Uncle Albert, Albemarle Halsey. I don't know if you guys have listened to any of those, Mitch, Tom?
I've listened to them, not this one yet.
Right.
They're pretty good. Not, there's not a whole lot of new insight, but there's always something that keeps you engaged on it.
Yes.
It's only like a half hour, but you know what? There's always a little tidbit that you say, okay, I didn't know that, or that was nice to hear again. So
right.
It's always nice to hear it, right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. on what he's doing.
Once you get through, the 3 ads that open the show, and then the 3 ads in the middle of the show, and then and littered with ads. And I think a lot of us were kind of like, where what, Tom?
No, where are you listening to the show?
Just through a podcast, through the podcast app, any generic podcast,
or Spotify and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. It's through Pushkin. It's through Pushkin, and the first couple episodes, I mean, he did Back in the USSR, Let It Be, Eleanor Rigby. These are we know all that. So that's kind of why I think most of us were like, we know the deal. Then they did one on When Winter Comes and Mull of Kintyre, which was nice because you heard Scotland stories. Then Penny Lane, and then this the other day, Uncle Albert. So check those; they're pretty good, and there's a whole bunch more coming down the pike. So, and if you want to pay Pushkin for the subscription, you can have access to all the episodes. So, I know that I don't think any of us did that, though.
I think on our local station here, Q1043, which is also online,
yes,
they are playing it commercial free right before Ken Dashow's Breakfast with the Beatles
on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, okay. So it's nice. It's like 7:30 to 8.
Oh,
so
okay.
You don't get the 8 billion commercials,
Yeah, that's actually good to know. Not that I'm ever up that early on a Sunday, but thanks for letting me.
I'm always up.
Are you? Oh, man.
I'm an insomniac, but I'm trying to sleep it off.
Wow. Well, it's a special time. It's a special time for Beatles fans as we have the last Beatles song that has been released today, Now and Then, which started life as a demo by John Lennon circa 1977. Mitch, tell us your exposure to Now and Then as a Beatle fan. When did you become aware of Now and Then as a track?
Like everybody else, when John's demos were available, it wasn't on any of the Lost Lennon tapes, so which was surprising. And it did start out as I Don't Want to Lose You,
right?
I believe. So most people, if they go back and listen to, or they're listening to this and they go back, they're not going to hear it as Now and Then. So I heard it back, when everybody else did, when all the bootlegs were coming out and all of his solo demos were really bombarding everybody because there were a lot, there were a ton that came out, and then the Lost Lennon tapes, but again, it wasn't on there. And then that's really, until the Threedles had gotten together and it was mentioned again, that was really it. And then, obviously throughout the years, it was in the Lennon play in 2005 as
right.
I Don't Want to Lose You as well.
Did you see that play, Mitch?
No, not many people did.
Because it wasn't on long.
It was on for a few months or 50-something performances, and they didn't even record a soundtrack. It was that bad. I mean, it got horrible reviews. But there is a video of the cast doing Now and Then or I Want to Lose You. I had posted it on our page, and you could go to YouTube and look at it. It's interesting. So that's basically when I heard of it, when I was exposed to it.
Tom, what was your first exposure to Now and Then as a bootleg recording as a Beatles fan?
Recently. I know we heard about it during the anthology about this, and then again we heard about it during that Jeff Lynne documentary, right? The ELO documentary. Which will, what he says, we'll get to that again soon, because I think that plays an important part.
It does. He doesn't say by name what song it is. He just says there's a third song. He didn't name the song, right?
But why what he says is important, and why he doesn't say it now. But we know the story. But anyways. But yeah, it was just recently that I've really just actually been giving the song a chance. I mean, once we knew it was Now and Then, and people talked about that hiss that was in the tape, then I started trying to find it and then listen to it. So it's only been recently that I've discovered
your exposure to it.
But yeah, I will say this: they once the promotion machine started working, so to speak, and people started hearing what was going on. Either Universal or Apple did pull down all of the fan-made ones. And I think his demos as well. A lot of his demos were pulled down. Recently, people started uploading them again. But everything, at one point, everything was pulled down. You couldn't find anything.
Yeah, they yanked all that stuff came down real quick, and within a matter of weeks. And those fan-made demos of Now and Then have been on YouTube for years.
Years
they've been on there.
15 years.
Right. So I knew the song was a Lennon demo, just on the bootlegs, just like Mitch heard about it. I wasn't really wasn't a demo that jumped out you like some of his other demos, you know? It was kind of just a half a medley and kind of a ghosty type lyric, and that was the end of it, really.
Right.
But I was always kind of puzzled that how were they going to work that into a new Beatles song during the anthologies, which leads us into our second point here. What do we believe the reasons why that it was just not finished during the... Now, that's kind of been reported over the years. Mitch, I'm very curious what your take on it. You know, legend has always said that, you know, George kind of just didn't like it, and that's why it wasn't done. Now it's being said, oh, the quality of the tape wasn't that good. George really liked it. What do you think? What do you think the truth is?
Okay, so my take is a little of both. I mean that very seriously. First of all, we're never going to know. All right, George is gone. And I know Olivia and Danny are probably towing the company line by saying, you know, look, George, I'm sure would have joined in. He would have. Because George in 1995 in the documentary says John would have joined in. So you have to believe George would have. But back then, I do believe he thought the song was effing rubbish, as, you know, as he's, you know, as Paul actually said, oh, it's, rubbish. He said, no, but it's John.
Okay, it's still rubbish.
But you know, there is something to the point of it was a crap demo. Now, he did in another interview, he did say, I hope people turn my crap demos into hit songs. So is it a crap demo because it's a crap song, or is it a crap demo because the demo was crap because of the
quality?
Issues? We will never know. I believe, knowing George, I probably think he thought it was a crap song.
Yes.
But, you know, knowing George, because George was kind of an angry guy, but a very funny guy, but he could be a little ornery. So I think he just had enough. And he said, this is not the song. You know, he once said, I think he didn't want to be a sideman for John Lennon. So I think that's what he felt with this one more than Free as a Bird and Real Love.
Or Real Love. You know, it's surprising because there was so much more potential for group input with new lyrics and new vocals, because Real Love was a song that was released already on this Imagine soundtrack, and there was less Beatle, there was less time sections for Paul and George to write stuff into it. And whereas now and then, if they had put a little bit more effort in, they could have had more of a stamp of their own on that song than Real Love.
We'll get to it later, I think, but when we talk about the song itself, because I have a lot to say on that. Because people are getting to that point, and I do have some, not insight, but I do have some commentary on what I think about the song in general in terms of structure and stuff. So we'll get to that. So Paul spills the beans in June. We don't even hear anything about this. The public doesn't hear anything about this at all. June, Paul, just let's the cat out of the bag. Right. 1 second. He did mention in an interview, I think, for Flaming Pie, that they worked on Now and Then, and that it wasn't going to be, you know, it was something they wanted to do. He then, as Tom mentioned, in the 2012 ELO thing, I'm going to go back and and get Jeff.
Nick and Ringo and do it.
Right.
Yeah, and he didn't even say Ringo. He just said, I'm going to go back and get him and Jeff are going to go back in the studio. He didn't say Ringo.
Right.
So he did mention it before June, but all of a sudden, with his book tour, it comes out and I do believe in a very nonchalant way, not on purpose. I don't think it was on purpose. I think it came out, you know, in the course of conversation that it worked on this new song.
Right, because, you know, he's already selling a Beatles book, so you really don't need more Beatles to sell a Beatles book. You know? So you might be onto something there. Maybe it did just slip out, but in a way, I really wish he wouldn't have. It would have, you know, saved so much headaches from the Hoffman Forum and other places.
Oh, God help us with that.
Oh, please. And there's a former co-host of this show that lives on that forum, lives on it.
I lived on it to laugh.
Yes.
I lived on it the last 6 months to laugh my ass off.
Right, because, and we'll get to the reasons why for that as we go through the show. Right. Ringo then spills the beans. When did Ringo drop?
Well,
hint at it?
Gillette did it before Ringo.
Yeah, I seem to remember the Penn Jillette stuff exploding. You know,
But he did a podcast about talking about it, right? He went to he went to Abbey Road and he got to hear it. But then that was taken down, wasn't it?
Yes, he talked about it. The magician talked about it, and Apple made his podcast disappear.
Gone. It's just gone like that. And first of all, like from what he said, it was so inaccurate. Oh, they put a 1960s Paul voice on there. No, they didn't, you jackass. It was 19. That was just so inaccurate what he said.
Just someone speculating. You know, he did have some accurate stuff though.
Some.
Yeah.
But it's just a fan. He's a fan, and he heard it, got excited, and decided to spill the beans. Now, look, there's parts of me that say some of this was orchestrated. All right. Because you know what? There can never be the publicity machine. There can never be bad publicity. So, I mean, and by us sitting there and everybody saying, oh, my God, Penn Jillette just talked about a new Beatle track and now his podcast is down. Everybody was still talking about the Beatle track. So,
because the machine was running.
It was starting. Now, whether Giles, because why would Giles play him a new Beatles song if he didn't think he would?
And Penn Jillette of all people, like the guy hasn't been a relevant comedic in 30 years, like some old washed up guy. Come on.
Well, I mean, I would think, you know, even if he did play it to him, that they didn't make him sign an NDA. So did they really think he was going to shut up if he's a Beatle fan and talking about a new Beatles song?
Right.
So I think they didn't, you know, by not signing an NDA, I think they thought, okay, if he blabs, it's not going to hurt us.
Right.
It won't help us. We'll have to come out and say, "Oh, stop."
Right.
But you know, or you know, the old joke of, "Oh, stop." You know.
Don't. But keep going. Yeah.
Because he started the wheels going, and then obviously Ringo chimed in, and it should be out already. And
right.
So, you know, I think I'm not saying it was all orchestrated, but I wouldn't doubt it if there was a little bit of, you know, hey, spill the beans a little bit and see what the public thinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. And then, of course, it gets delayed. The announcement gets delayed. Why?
Now, this has nothing to do with Taylor Swift. Guys, it doesn't. Come on. Do you think the Beatles give a damn about Taylor Swift?
No.
Right. They don't. And when
however, it wouldn't hurt to go up against her, though. I mean, you don't want to go against her, though. I mean, let's face it.
No,
she's the biggest selling artist right now.
Yes, she is, and you got to give her props. It's not.
Yeah.
No. So I'm totally not. I'm not a non-Swiftie, but I'm not a Swiftie. But I will say this: when we were in the listening event, I said they should have, on the picture sleeve, they should have said the Beatles featuring Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Listen, when there's master's degrees programs in 50 years on Taylor Swift, then let's have a conversation about her, okay?
Right. Then we will all have shaken it off, so to speak.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Before you get to your thoughts on the late announcement, I mean, you were pretty vocal on your Facebook page, or the Fab Four Free for All Facebook page, about, you know, hearing all these rumors, all these speculations. You know, you seemed like you were having a great time with it.
I was having a great time with it because everybody thought they had the inside info. And I just watched it and laughed because, look, you know, there was no delay. There was no this. Everybody kept saying, oh, it's going to be 9/29. And then, it's going to be October 9th.
October.
Right.
Because that's a sexy date. Come on. Yeah, it's a sexy date, but it's also not, you know, it was not going to happen. And I knew October 9th was going to come and go and nothing was going to be said. And I was reading all the boards. I was reading all the speculation. And again, I'm not saying I was anything special because I knew something. I'm not. Believe me, I'm just a fan, and I was very happy, and I just kept my mouth shut. And everybody was tripping over themselves, and it was especially fun when all the, quote, insiders were actually, like, yelling at the other insiders. How come you told me that this was coming out now? And the announcement, where is the announcement? I'm going to die if I don't get the announcement by the 9th. I'm like, what? I mean, people were losing their crap. I mean, about this announcement,
and then videos upon videos about videos about the announcement.
I know. A video. When are we going to get the And look, I'm all for YouTube clicks because you get money and whatever. But at some point, you know, how many videos do we have to have? Where's the announcement? Stop already. Can you wait?
Right.
You
And
know?
then that stupid AI generated little cartoon of the Beatles, and
Well, that
then all
was
of a sudden
later.
that was another, that became a crazy thing upon itself as well.
Oh, that bothered me so much because, and I debunked that, and I'm not taking credit for debunking it.
Right.
I'm just saying it was very easy to debunk. You know why? Because some fan went in and did a Paul McCartney one and said, "Show me a Pixar Paul McCartney," and
Right.
it did it, and it looked exactly like the other one, and it put up Disney Pixar, and I put it up and I said, "Guys, this is from a fan who did this last night. You don't think
Right.
that this three Beatles all righties are
Right.
why would they put up three Beatles all righties? Whatever it was, maybe one was a righty and two were lefties, whatever it was stupid and it wasn't real, and
No.
we would know if Pixar was going to do a Beatle movie." And then
Right.
there was the
And
whole
then
thing of, well, the announcement's getting, we're not going to get the red and blue because there's going to be a soundtrack to that movie. And they want to hold off and put all the red and blue stuff on the
right.
internet. I'm like, really? I mean, do you hear yourselves talking? It sounds so stupid.
So dumb. All right, so Mitch, you had the opportunity to go to an exclusive event, a listening event about Now and Then. Please tell us about that experience.
I mean, I wasn't the only one.
Right,
There were,
because there was one in LA as well.
yeah, and overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few. We were invited. Look, we have a good relationship with Apple and Universal, and we never take for granted any opportunity we get. We don't. It's not like expected because we're journalists.
Right.
I'm just a schmo in a basement right now, but yeah, we are journalists, and so we get invited. We're always very grateful, and we always help out. And we had to sign an NDA because
Right.
they really wanted to keep the integrity of the campaign and
Yes.
the song. They didn't want it leaking. And to every journalist's credit, and I'm talking about every journalist in that room, at least in my listening event, nobody blabbed. And
Right.
I mean, I guess that's what the legality will force you to. But nobody, it could have easily, someone could have said, "I don't give a damn what are they
Right.
going to do? Not service me
Because
anymore with Beetle products?"
Yeah, because I remember last year, didn't I think Bill King report something, and because I think there was someone blabbed maybe to him about it, and then he talked about the Yellow Submarine thing, and then that ended up getting taken down. So if you're lucky enough to get invited to these things, be respectful, have some integrity, and do the right thing.
Mitch, when and where was it? Where was it held?
It was late September at a theater in New York City, a Dolby Theater, where they could play Atmos stuff, which we've never done before because any listening event we've ever had or been invited to, it was in the studio, Electric Ladyland, the Power Station, someplace where you could really hear the music well. This one, they wanted to show us the video and the 12-minute documentary, obviously. So there was a screen, obviously, a really good screen.
So this was when you heard the song, you just watched the video. They didn't play the song first.
Well, no, first. Well, we were, obviously we were told what the agenda was going to be for the day. They talked about the marketing of the whole campaign, and then they played the documentary first. The documentary totally blew us all away. I mean, emotional, and I want to talk about the documentary a little bit if you don't mind.
No, we're going to get to that. Yeah.
Good. So then they played us the song by itself, and
okay.
I will say I'm not ashamed to say I wept. I did, because just like everybody else was saying yesterday, when they in the documentary, when you first hear John's voice clear, and they say, and Paul says, and it was crystal clear, and then that's when we heard that first of all in the documentary. I wept also. Then they played the video, and not the video. They played the song, and with just a dark theater, and it was, I mean, emotional wasn't the word. It was amazing. So it was when they sang the harmonies on the chorus for Now and Then I Miss You.
Yes.
I mean, forget it.
Done.
I was a little baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that
then-
seems to be that, and we'll get to that. That seems to be the real emotional punch part of that
Yes.
song. Absolutely.
And then we talked about the red and blue. We didn't go totally into the red and blue. They played us a couple of tracks, which I'll be honest with you, I was not blown away by, and not because they're not good. They played us I Am the Walrus and Ticket to Ride. Now, in an Atmos theater, it's very tough. Everybody was saying you need to hear it in stereo because Atmos, first of all, 1% of 1,000% of people have Atmos, number one.
Right.
And second of all, when you're hearing it all spaced out, it's just not as compact. So I've since heard those two songs, and everybody's going to be blown away. I'm telling you right now. I mean, blown away. You've heard Love Me Do today.
Yep.
Yes.
Love Me Do, just, I don't know what you guys thought about it, but holy crap. It's now a really good stereo mix, and it sounds like, Paul's bass is not plotting. Paul's bass sounds like a nice bass track. So expect a lot of good from the red and blue. So we went into that a little bit, not a lot. And then at the end, they surprised us with the video. And that's when I had to change my underwear.
I bet.
I'm not kidding. It was, I mean,
Yeah, I believe you.
You can't, I mean, talk about leaving us on a high note, the most emotional note. And again, some people, you'll see, you will have seen by now the video by the time this is up. I absolutely adored it. So that's basically what the whole thing was. They talked a lot about everything. We had question and answer time. And there were a lot of great questions. My colleagues, Tony and Rob, asked some great questions too about, and I think this is important. People are saying, oh my God, how come they didn't put out an EP of Real Love and Free as a Bird with this?
You can't. Yeah, I understand why. Because they didn't. I could see why people wanted that, but you got to have all the attention on the one song.
Correct. And you know what? Based on what they said, I would, and again, nothing is in stone. I would expect to see anthology in the future.
Yes. Done with this new,
right,
exactly.
Yes. So everybody complaining about it, I think, if you wait a year or two, I think you will be happy.
And you'll stumble upon a year or two from now is about the 30th anniversary of the anthology. So I think timing is good.
You know what? Everybody was also complaining, why is Now and Then on the end song on the blue? And when they at the event, they said, they told us it was going to be Love Me Do as the double A side, because it's a double A side.
Right.
And they said, guys, the reason why is because Love Me Do is the first Beatles single. Now and Then is the last. It's as simple as that.
Well, probably the last, as Paul said in the documentary.
I think Paul was misspoken. You never. They did say there will never be an AI created Beatles song. Ever.
No.
So if that's the case, this is the last thing George played on.
Yes.
And so it will be the last true Beatles single. So it was so simple. Even the red and the blue now, what leads off the red is the first single. What ends the blue is Now and Then.
So it's bookended. It's bookended, and the single bookends both of these albums, and it makes total sense.
It works. And let me tell you right now, they are using the single version as to lead off the album.
Okay, not the Andy White.
Andy White.
Okay.
Because you really want the true. Well, that's a big thing because it's always been Andy White, but you really want Ringo on both.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And it's only fair. I mean, quite frankly,
you have to.
So
Mitch, that event sounds incredible. Did they make you turn your phones in before you walked into the place?
No, that was the weird thing. I thought, a lot of times you have to put your phone in a pouch, and no, I mean seriously, and you're not allowed to because, I wish I would have thought about being a schmuck and turning on my recorder while they were doing, because not that I would have leaked it because I want to keep my good relationships.
Right.
Why ruin relationships for the future by doing something stupid and having a lo-fi leak?
Right.
And nobody did it. I think everybody was so stunned by what was being heard that nobody even thought about, maybe people did it on the phone to hear it later. I don't know. But if they did, they didn't leak anything, which I thought was really great of everybody there. So
fantastic. What an experience that would have been. About how many people were there, Mitch?
There were a couple of sessions. We were in the early one. I mean, 20, 30. Not,
So,
it's not,
not
it's not huge. No, it's
no,
not
it's not
huge.
300 people or
No, but the heavy hitters were there. I mean, a lot
Mhm.
of, a lot of the heavy hitters were there. And I'm not saying me, much more important people than me were there. Although, the one thing I will say about us, and when I say us, I mean all podcasters. I'm not talking about just my podcast, our podcast, Tony, Rob, and I. All of us podcasters, I think we don't get as much credit as we deserve because if you see something in print from Rolling Stone or even online, and Rob Sheffield is a wonderful writer and he deserves a lot of credit actually for this Red and Blue because his article on the 50th anniversary, I think, spurred this on. I think.
Mm.
But and we met him there again and he's great. So I'm not saying anything against Rolling Stone or Rob Sheffield, but any print media, you read it and it's done. If you or I are on our podcast, this podcast right now that we're doing, you could hear this 20 years from now.
Right.
Same
Right.
with ours. And you get more, I'm going to say more legs. you get more than two. No, but you get more legs for marketing from us than
Right.
you would, some
Right.
of the heavy hitters. So I'm not, saying anything bad about them, but I think a lot of with the new technology with podcasts, I think we need to be realized, more in the industry because I think
Right.
we have more of a reach for a longer period of time.
Right.
yes.
I mean, we're the ones like right now talking about this stuff. I mean, giving people our opinions. So I mean, people,
Right.
not to say we're big headed or anything, but people sometimes look to us for our opinions and thoughts on these things. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we should be taken a little bit more seriously when it comes to promoting these releases.
Right. Yeah, because
and not getting
again,
shut down when we're just showing the documentary on silent on a live stream last night, and they just zapped us after 5 minutes.
well, that's the bots who are doing that.
Yeah,
But
sure.
no, but I mean, honestly, taken seriously is right because look, all the print media people are done. They wash their hands with this and they're on to the next thing.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I've said it off camera and off mic, and I'll say it again. I've been promoting this for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yes, you have.
Pumping people up and not for any gain of mine. I'm not making any money on this. I'm not getting, we may get some promos to give away to our listeners, but I'm not making anything on this. This is not something that I'm invested in, so to speak, but I'm a fan first. And I love this. So if I could share any info and pump people up without giving anything away, I'm going to do it. And we keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Mitch.
well,
Thank you very much.
Thanks to everybody who did it because there were a lot of other people who, either shared my post or gave other insight. And, that's what those people should be taken more seriously because like tomorrow, the print media is not going to talk about the video. We
No.
are.
Right.
We are.
I'm going to post like crazy. And then probably all week, the red and blue. I mean, once the media has talked about the red and blue, they're done. You and I and Tom and everybody else who does these things, we're going to keep going. And we're going to give this thing legs till well after the holidays.
Correct.
So I think we should be taken more seriously.
Agreed. Now, moving on to the documentary, which dropped yesterday at 3:30, which here on Wednesday, the 1st of November, which you had seen. Obviously, watching it again yesterday, did you feel the same way and the same that you saw in September? Was it still as moving for you? I mean, it was incredible. I watched it like 3 times yesterday.
Yes, I have to say it. I showed my family, and my kids are 21 and 20, and a document. First of all, they love the Beatles, not like me because they've had enough growing up with the Beatles. But when you see a good documentary, it doesn't matter what the subject is as long as it's good. And this is 12 minutes of goodness, of really good goodness. Right. My wife loved it, and you know what? It's very moving. What part got me the most, and it got me in the event, and it gets me every time I see it. When Paul says, "Aren't I lucky to have had these men in my life?"
Yeah.
And all the body of work. When I saw it at the event, again, I cried, and I'll tell you why. because it sort of said to me that Paul realizes his mortality.
Yes.
And I realize my mortality because even though I'm 20 years younger than Paul, I still, there's a part of me that doesn't want the Beatles to die. And I don't mean physically. I mean, I don't want Paul and Ringo to pass, obviously. But I don't want the Beatles the legacy to ever die, which it won't. But when you hear that, it's almost like Paul resigning himself to the fact that this is it.
And that's what you hear. That's what you hear in the song, which we'll get to at the end of the show. That's what the song. Yeah,
that really got to me. It was very emotional. That one part. I mean, there's a million emotional parts. The first hearing, the first listening of John's voice solo,
crystal clear. Yeah.
I mean, come on. So it was well done. Oliver Murray did an incredible job of directing and producing. He also wrote it. Paul does a good job of narrating it because he does narrate it for the most part.
I mean, you could tell that this is his baby. You could tell that this is his baby throughout the whole 12 minutes. I mean, the 12 minutes is so Paul heavy, with the narration. I would have liked
as it should be.
Ringo. Well, yeah. I mean, but it's the Beatles. You want, I would have liked maybe a little bit more Ringo doing some narration as well. But the point is that this. I mean, Paul's the one that's been pushing for this to get done.
Yes. I think, and he has. I think one of the crown jewels of the whole documentary is seeing that anthology footage that we had not seen before.
Correct.
Right.
We've seen some of that stuff in the Real Love video and some of the other outtakes on the anthology on the bonus disc, but seeing some of those other clips.
We had never seen George trying to do Norwegian Wood.
No.
Never.
The 14 hours of anthology footage that they talked about.
Well, one of the things in the event that Rob asked was, hey, what about anthology? And they said, just wait. It's in the future. All right. And again, they didn't let on anything. They just said it's in the future. So is everything. But obviously when Peter mentioned the 14 hours and I posted it with a big bold and said, hey people, this was mentioned for a reason. At least I think it was. And then I followed up the question, well, if that's the case with anthology in sometime in the future, are we going to get an expanded Threedles video? And I was told I can say no more. They didn't say it like that because that would be too helpy. Mm-hmm. But I would expect that somewhere down the road, at least more of the Threedles footage of that 14 hours, if not the 14 hours, obviously we're not going to get that. But even if we get another hour, I'm all in.
Well, let's take what we can get. I'm sure Peter Jackson has seen all 14 hours. He's got it. He's got it all.
Also, don't forget in the documentary, you saw the actual footage of Paul and George recording because Paul's mouthing the words. It's not.
That's the footage from '95. Correct.
Right.
So you're seeing it then.
Oh, there's something here, and I can't wait to see more of it. So.
Right. And as we move into the song itself, it's very curious how much vocals we're hearing, like how much of Paul's 95 voice is in this new recording, and obviously how much of his current voice is in here.
Right.
Moving forward to break the song down, that'll be really interesting to hear about how much new stuff was vocally was added on to it from 95 to now.
Well, you can hear, I've been playing the song nonstop in headphones, so you can hear Paul's 95 voice when he says "We'll love you,"
right?
That's definitely 95, but or at least I think it is, unless they did trickery in the studio, which they said they didn't. But you definitely hear the old man Paul, and I don't mean that in any disparaging way. you hear the older Paul harmonizing on the chorus. Ringo's on the chorus too, by the way. Which you will have seen in the video, singing the chorus. But I think, you do hear, I don't know which Paul is sort of mirroring, singing in unison with John, not harmonizing on some parts. I would assume that's the 95 Paul.
Yeah.
So I don't even know anymore. You never know what they could do in the studio and how Paul's voice was one day and not the other. I don't know. It doesn't matter, does it?
It really doesn't. It's. I will say this. I do feel that it's a different kind of Beatles song, and it's not the same as "Free as a Bird" and "Real Love." It's it's a great. I love the song. I'm gonna listen to it 1,000 more times. But the legacy, this is the end kind of feeling is so very prevalent in this song.
The I want to say something about the structure because people are bitch moaning and complaining about that today. Where's the "I don't want to lose you" part? That's a bridge. Well, let me tell you something right now. If you listen to John's demo and you hear the "I don't want to lose you,"
right,
he doesn't finish it.
He doesn't finish it.
Says,
right. That was fine cutting that.
Right. Paul could have easily finished that, but I don't think he wanted to intrude on that. He was very. He definitely pulled back a lot on this, but in terms of structure, because people are saying, "Oh my God, this is so boring." It's not even. No, it's not. Because
no, it's not.
Listen to "Free as a Bird." "Free as a Bird" is what? It's a verse, and then it's a bridge, and then another verse and the same bridge sung by a different Beatle.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. No chorus. It has no chorus.
No.
This has verse, chorus, musical solo,
outro,
interlude, and then another verse. I would rather have chorus than bridge, to be honest.
And what a chorus! What a chorus!
He starts singing in harmony, and the harmonies soar up to the clouds, and you're just like, okay, this works for me.
Yes,
you're right. Yeah, the bit that was cut out, the "I don't want to lose you, abuse you, or confuse you," I don't know if that was like a wasted opportunity for a chance for Paul to do a lead vocal in there, kind of like he did with "Free as a Bird," and with George. But I can see how it doesn't really fit to what they were trying to accomplish with this track. I think it kind of like steers the song into maybe a different direction. But
it does.
But I would have liked to have maybe heard a little bit more Paul in this. But it's great the way it is.
Yeah, I think also, look, and again, it's going to sound disparaging, and I'm really not. But maybe Paul didn't want to sing on the last Beatle track in his current voice.
Yeah, that could
be.
And again, I'm
That's
not
fair.
disparaging him. I'm not. I love Paul, and I think in the studio it could have probably worked. But you do hear him in in his older voice. I'm not going to say warbling a little during the the chorus, but it works because you're in unison with the others.
Correct.
If you're solo and it's sort of the older voice,
it may not have. Yeah.
The attention away from the song.
If more work had been done on this song in '95 with Paul's younger voice, then
maybe. Right.
Maybe then.
Yeah.
Listen, the song itself is 4 minutes and 5 seconds.
Right.
And it's not, and the only two verses that are the same are the first and the last. The second one, Now and Then, If You Go Away, is not the same as, and If I Make It Through. So even though it starts with, the same thing, I know it's true, it might sound repetitive, but it's not.
I know it's a somber song. It's not a song that people are like, oh my God, this is such a happy, uplifting song.
Yeah, again.
Right.
It's not. I know it's. People probably were expecting that. If they're disappointed, I got a text from a friend of mine. Oh, I'm a big Beatle fan. I was kind of underwhelmed. I'm like, well, whatever. Like, you have to understand what this song is for the legacy of the whole Beatles career. 60 some odd years later. Come on, like, this is it. Come on. So if you accept it on those terms, then you won't be disappointed. And the three of us and many others are not. We love it.
I had a friend who said it didn't have the Beatle magic. And I'm saying to myself, I said to him too, I said, I got to be honest with you. If the four Beatles were alive today and in the studio as the Beatles, you wouldn't get the Beatle magic. Because it was of the time when every song came out, it was of the time and everybody was so expecting the Beatles, to be great. And they were great. And they kept, going up and up and up in terms of development. We're talking about 80-year-old guys now, all right? We're not, and I don't mean that meanly, but we're not talking about, they're not going to be doing Why Don't We Do It in the Road or Strawberry Fields or I Am the Walrus anymore. They're going to, they're going to basically be like John was during Double Fantasy. I think great songs, but, more somber, more older and
older, somber, like we've done it all. We've done it all. and we're proud of what we did, and we miss our friends. That's what I hear. That's it.
I think this song is less of a dirge than "Free as a Bird."
Yeah,
I
agree.
I mean, geez, come on. The
Yeah,
video.
and that's the thing, is it's like when I think Beatles, I think energy. I don't think there's any energy whatsoever to "Free as a Bird." I mean,
I don't
Ringo's
either.
drumming is just, it's just so. I mean, there's no energy to Ringo's drumming. In
There
"Free as a
is to
Bird,"
this song. Ringo's drumming is
there
great.
is to this.
It is. Now,
Well,
I happen to love "Free as a Bird." I think it's actually one of the best Beatles songs of all time. I do.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
I do.
okay. High
But
praise.
you know what? Listen, if you're listening to the song, and I said it a million times on our posts, listen more than once and listen in headphones. Paul's
Yeah,
bass playing at
headphones.
81 is better than most bass playing at 15,
Yeah.
18,
Don't
25.
listen on here. Don't listen on this.
No. Please listen
No,
to
no,
Paul's
it's-
bass playing, which is amazing.
Right.
Ringo's drumming is typical Ringo, and actually it's atypical Ringo, and that good on Bruce Sugar, because when was the last time you heard him do rim shots?
Right.
Mm.
Quick question on the credits there. Now, Jeff Lynne was credited on this because of the work he did on it in '95. He wasn't brought back into this recently, right?
No.
That's what I thought.
No, because you know what? The production on this, no offense to Jeff Lynne, I don't want it to sound like Cloud 9. I don't.
Right.
I don't want it to sound like Free as a Bird or Real Love either. Now, Cloud 9 is a great album, but
Right.
it sounds a little dated now. It has the typical ELO Jeff Lynne production.
Sound, yeah.
I didn't want it on this. This is supposed to be a song for 2023.
Right. Now
and
that's
quite
Paul.
frankly, it's great.
Right.
The
Now that's
production
Paul
is
doing the
wonderful.
count-in at the beginning.
Yes. And Ringo
Yeah.
at the end.
I think it's Ringo at
end.
the end. Everybody
It
says
is.
John at the end, but it's Ringo.
That's Ringo. That's
Yeah.
Ringo at the end. It
And I
fades
love
out
Ringo.
quick. It
And I
fades
think
out quick,
it's
but
great.
it's him.
But the way they did it, all the little subtleties that they did,
Right.
like that, like Paul and Ringo at the, back in the front and back, that's wonderful.
Listen. There's a lot in this 4 minutes and 8 seconds, right? There's strings. There's little guitar riffs. Throughout the
harmonies
song,
between
the
claws and
harmonies.
there and everywhere
Yeah.
are so good because you don't notice them. I mean,
No, you do not.
You do notice the because one at the end, but you don't notice the here, there, and everywhere unless you're really listening, and it's in different pitches and keys, and it works so beautifully.
It works, and I know there was a lot. Oh, they're gonna fly in harmonies from older Beatles songs, so it's not really authentic. You can't even really tell.
No, you
Yeah.
can't.
Now, unfortunately, maybe one of the more disappointing aspects to the song for me is the George-inspired solo from Paul. But what you hear during that solo is breathtaking. All of the backing vocals that you hear during that solo, I swear, it just brings chills to your spine. I mean, the goosebumps, the hair on the back of your neck. In a way, I was saying it kind of almost sounded like a Wing song in a way.
Yeah.
With those early backing vocals from Denny and Linda.
Well,
I really
right.
love that.
But you know what got me also, and I didn't hear it until like the 8th time playing it, on the second Now and Then, because on the first Now and Then chorus, there's no harmonies above it. I mean, there's harmonies in the chorus, but there's no background vocals on top of it. The second chorus starts with ooze or ahs, whatever it is, ooze, I think. And I didn't notice it because you're so caught up in hearing the song. And now, whenever I hear it, it opens the chorus with the ooze, and then you hear Now and Then I Miss You.
Right.
And everything, the orchestration is very subtle. It's not over the top.
Yeah, no.
The tiny little staccato stuff in between, like where you hear
and then
it.
you do hear in the left headphone when you're listening to it on headphones. I think it was about the 141 mark. You do hear some funky guitar. I think. I think that might be from George.
It is. It's
that's George, right?
And also the opening acoustic is George.
Okay.
The opening acoustic is George, right? So that was my question. Like, where are the George parts in the song?
And listen, Tom, I know you don't like the solo, but I would love to know why, because, I mean, Paul's never going to sound like George on Slide. No one sounds like George on Slide. George had such a distinct style. But it wasn't obviously, like I said in the doc, it was just a tribute. It wasn't supposed to be.
Exactly.
It was a tribute, right?
It was a tribute.
An homage to his fallen friend. And I think, even in the documentary, they brought George in a lot. George did a lot of talking, meaning, either from clips or, anthology stuff. But so the only one missing from the doc was John, really.
Yeah.
But
And
other
we
than
which
that, I think they were very not kind, because that's not the right word. They were very generous to George in all of this.
Yes.
And I think they really he wanted to do that solo because maybe there wasn't the distinguishable guitar of George's that you would hear like in obviously Real Love and Free as a Bird. You know
it's George.
Right.
You know.
So I think that's why he wanted to do the quote tribute. I think it's a beautiful guitar solo. I think you're right. Everything around it, Tom, is magnificent.
It is. It's just very dreamy like.
It's dreamy like, and it's a beautiful song. When you think about what the lyrics mean and that John and Paul are singing those words together, and everything that those guys went through, and then you think about if you want to apply your own life to those lyrics, I mean, it is emotional overload when you think about the Beatles and their lives, and then if you think about your own, get it.
Let me tell you right now, the one thing that got me, and the reason we didn't interview Giles, and we always interview Giles after every single release, and we were supposed to, but his mother passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I think as of this recording, today was the funeral. But can you imagine? Giles was on the BBC One show like either today or yesterday, and he's burying his mom.
Right.
And this song is being played 100 million times. Can you imagine his emotions with his own life, with his mom, and God bless her. She was a wonderful woman.
Hey, listen, according to Mark Lewison, if it wasn't for the affair, the Beatles would have never been signed, right?
Right.
Correct.
But we're sitting here talking about our own mortality and now and then, and can you imagine what Giles was thinking with his mom with now and then?
Oh, absolutely.
No. So again, personally, and then the context of the Beatles themselves, when you hear in that 4 minutes and 8 seconds or whatever it is, listen, that's what it is. That's the legacy of the Beatles in a nutshell. And if you can't appreciate that, then you have no emotional, heart in you.
The other thing I will say, and I was thinking about this a lot because I find myself crying all the time listening to this and thinking of my parents and, thinking of everybody because, my parents got me into the Beatles and now and then, so, it hits on so many levels. And I know maybe an 18-year-old wouldn't feel it like we are.
No.
We're a little older and I'm older than probably both of you. But again, the one thing I will say is with now and then languishing in the cupboard, so to speak, like Paul said it did in the doc, as long as it languished in the cupboard, the Beatles could live. And because George was on something and the legacy could always continue. Once Paul finished this song, the Beatles are gone.
Right.
As a group. I mean, there's never going to be another Beatle song. There will be new product. There could be unreleased tracks.
All that. But anything new. Forever. Right. And I think
the legacy will last well after lunchtime. Well after we are gone. But in terms of the Beatles as a finite group, they said this is the Beatles' last song for a reason. And if he didn't, as long as Paul was breathing and Ringo were breathing, or even Paul breathing, and I don't mean that against Ringo, he could always, even if he was 95, he could go back in the cupboard and take it out and try to finish now and then, and the Beatles would still be a viable product, so to speak.
Right.
But with that being the last thing, right? I mean,
it's done, and I think Paul realizes that,
and you hear it. You hear it in his voice in the documentary, and you hear it in his singing, especially on the chorus. You hear it in this. You hear it.
It's heart wrenching, but so wonderful and joyous as well.
Yes.
And I
absolutely
wish people would just stop trying to psychoanalyze it. People were saying maybe it was written for May, and I'm like, I don't care.
The cassette said for Paul, though.
Who cares?
The cassette said for Paul, though, right?
Well, I think maybe the cassette was for Paul, to finish. Maybe not, written for Paul.
Right.
But it could have been for Paul. Look, it doesn't matter. You can put it for whoever you want, and if you want to put it for John singing to Paul and Paul singing to John, who cares? It's just such a beautiful song, and you know what? It's not as slow and ballady as it starts out.
No,
Chorus, it becomes a different song.
It does.
So
And that's what I was really hoping for. I mean, I was, I get the, the slower intro, the piano, the
Right.
hauntingness of the
And then
piano,
the build up.
and the build up, and that's what I really loved about, the build up is fantastic. But listen, I mean, there was a great comment in the documentary where George Harrison says, to hear Lennon's voice, that's what we should cherish, and it really is, a cherished moment to have this new song, with this Lennon vocal, and what Paul and Giles and Ringo did with this is, I think, bar none,
knocked it out of the park. Knocked
Yeah.
it out of the park.
I mean, I hate to say this, but they did take a sad song and make it better. But
Right.
quite frankly, they took what they were given and
Right.
made it something. Is it? I've said this a million times in the last 2 days. Is it the best John Lennon song ever? No.
No.
Is it the best Beatles song ever? No.
No.
Is it
No.
worthy of being in their canon and being the last word on the Beatles? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. And I wish people would just stop trying to psychoanalyze it. Just enjoy it for what it is. You're never going to hear,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're never going to hear something as inventive as I Am the Walrus again. You're not. And you're not going to hear the exuberance of the young 20-year-old Beatles. This is the perfect ending to the Beatles catalog, so to speak. Again, if it's the end, I'm going to say it is, but it's the perfect ending. It's such a great way to top off the legacy and say, we're done. I mean, yeah. Paul and Ringo are still going to tour and they're going to play Beatles songs, and that's great. And we're going to get product coming out of the yin yang for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
And then after I'm gone, probably too. But
Right.
but as far as the end to the Beatles songs and not even legacy, because that's going to last, but the end of the Beatles, it's the last
Right.
Beatles song, just like they
Yeah,
said it is.
speaking of other product, I mean, listen, everything else was put on hold for pretty much for this single, wouldn't you say? Yeah.
Yes, I would expect Rubber Soul in the next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's because 9 of the tracks are done now that are going to be on the Red album. So
Well,
that's
even-
why.
even-
And
Yeah.
great.
Well, even future box sets for the solo camps too. I mean, I would imagine those were put on hold for this
Yes.
release as
You don't
as
want
well.
to listen. If it's the last Beatles song, and
Right.
they said
Everything else has to stop.
correct.
Everything.
They said in the event that they're not even really worried about a number one song. That's not what they're concerned about. They're really
No.
not. They're concerned about people just hearing it. And if it
Hmm.
goes to number one, that's a great perk. Or goes
Right.
top 10, whatever it does. If they don't care anymore.
No.
It's not
Nor
what
should they.
Right. But they just want people to hear it because it's worthy of hearing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Well, great. Mitch, what do you have coming down the pipeline there for the Fab Four Free for All?
I don't know yet. we're gonna actually we're gonna do a couple of shows on the Red and Blue. Expect those soon. We're hoping to do an unboxing of the color box very soon. Hopefully, we'll be the first to do the unboxing. But I will tell you that for anybody listening here, that I'm assuming you said this will be up on Saturday.
Yes.
You will not be disappointed by the Red and Blue. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to say, listen in headphones again, because the Beatles are going to sound like they're in your room.
Wow.
It's a different experience. I know the Red and the Blue have been out a million times.
Right.
This is a different experience.
Awesome.
Wow. That's all.
Even the Blue, Mitch?
Yes, because even though the Blue is mostly tracks that they've done already from 17 on,
Yes.
there's still many tracks, like Hey Bulldog,
Fool on the Hill.
right,
Fool
all
on
the
the
Magical
Hill,
Mystery Tour stuff, and the other added tracks too,
Right.
which I the Red especially, you're
Yes.
capturing the exuberance of the young Beatles again.
Right.
I mean, if I needed someone, wow.
I know this boy. They added this boy on there. I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, I can say no more, but oh my God, that's all I'll say.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not look, people don't have to go buy it. You have to buy nothing. You don't have to buy
Exactly.
the single. You don't have to buy anything you don't want to buy.
Yeah, and for all the people that said we just buy the same stuff that we bought for the last 50 years, you know what? No, it's not.
Right,
This is a new
not.
experience.
And it's a totally different experience. And they're not just doing it I hate when people say it's a cash grab. It's not.
Cash grab. Yeah.
And
We're
they
saying
need
here.
Come on.
No.
They think the Beatles need money. Tell that to the $1.2 billion McCartney. It's not like, he needs it, but he wants people, they want the Beatles to sound fresh. They want the Beatles to sound like, like they want that legacy to keep going. And with this, I mean, geez, it sounds really good. Other than that, we're going to keep doing shows when we can. We just, we all get older. We all have either health issues or family issues or whatever we have that we can't always get together and record as much as we'd like. But we're going to keep Beatling until they put me in the ground, and Rob and Tony too, if I don't put them in the ground first. No, but we're going to, look, people are, and again, I don't want this to sound egotistical at all, but people are thanking me for all the keeping them up to date. I'm a fan first. I am a fan first. I said it before. I'll say it again. If I can pump you up, if I can keep you informed, I'm going to do it because I love it. I'm not doing it for any monetary. We're not making any money on these things. I really just love the Beatles, and I love watching people get happy and with their enjoyment as well. When people said, when I said, enjoy this, and people said, wow, Mitch, you were right. Well, guess what? I love that because that only means that more people are going to be hearing the Beatles and spreading the word, and they're going to be around for, hundreds of years.
Right.
Absolutely. Thomas, what about you guys in Talk More Talk?
Well, we're going to be talking about, guess what, now and then. Monday, a couple days after this show is posted. So we'll be going live Monday night to talk about Now and Then. We'll have a special guest, and we'll have some more fun. Listen, we could talk about this song for hours. There's just so many layers and so many things to appreciate about this song. So I'm looking forward to continuing to talk about this, whether it's here, whether it's Talk More Talk, or with friends on Facebook and Messenger or whatever. So really looking forward to that. And thank you to all the new subscribers out there that have been coming in fast and furious on our YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Please keep those comments coming. We might not always comment to all of them, but we see them and we'll like them and all that stuff. But it's just been really, really great to see so many new subscribers coming in and appreciating what we do. There was an email that I wanted to read from a past show, but I'll have to get to that another time. But again, this has just been
exciting times. Exciting times to be a Beatle fan and be in this universe and be blessed that we have this opportunity.
Right there, what you just said is a great way to end this, because you know what? Ringo and Paul are still around. We are blessed. We are. No matter, I don't care what Paul's voice sounds like. I don't care what Ringo does. If not signing autograph. We are blessed right now, and we should really, count our blessings that we can talk about a new Beatles song. Jesus.
Yes.
In 2023, we're talking about a new Beatles song.
Which is incredible. So that's going to wrap it up for episode 227. Tom Hunyadi, Mitch Axelrod, thank you guys so much for sharing our thoughts here on this momentous occasion, and lots of episodes and lots of takes on the song. And we haven't even gotten to the Red and the Blue albums yet. So we'll be, like Mitch said earlier in the show, we got enough content to get us through the end of the year and then some.
Yeah.
So
and then next year you'll be hearing from everybody too with podcasts, because it's going to be a busy year. Don't forget Mind Games.
That's confirmed. Rubber Soul.
Band on the Run. Half Speed Master. I'm sure we're going to get.
It's coming. Happy times. And
at some point, we're going to get London Town and Back to the Edge.
At some point. At some point. So we got a little reprieve of the wallet from Revolver to now, but here we go.
I didn't get a reprieve on this. I bought every incarnation of Now and Then.
Yes, same.
I bought everyone. I bought the red and blue limited, LP set.
All in. All in. Only way to do it, Mitch. The only way to do it. All in. So, thank you everybody for tuning in today, and we will see you on the next episode of Two Legs. Take care, everybody, and enjoy Now and Then.
Peace of love.
Take care.